Hey everyone, happy Monday. It's your girl, Janelle Villiers, author and writing coach. Happy to be with you all today on another Monday. For some people, it's Motivational Monday or Mindful Monday, but here at 5:30 Eastern PM, it's time for the Other Side podcast, where we are all about getting to the other side of the mental health journey that we are all on. So this is the day after Mother's Day. I just want to say happy Mother's Day to all the amazing, beautiful, gorgeous, graceful, royal mothers out there. You guys are doing a lot of times the unseen work and giving support to create the beautiful human beings that so many of us have become. And so I just want to give a huge shout out to all the mothers out there. And I'm really excited because today we're going to be talking about a topic. Please forgive me because I, again, forgot to write it in the thing. So our topic today is negative self-talk. I want to really get into this and what are the things that we can do about it? How can we address it? What are some exercises or some things that we can do to help with that, right? I'll just be honest, sometimes people come to me and ask me certain questions, and sometimes I'm inspired by things that I see on social media. This came from inspiration from someone I know, and I really thought, you know what? Let's actually talk about this because I'm sure she's not the only one who's going through this. So let's first just identify what is negative self-talk. A lot of times you guys hear me on this show. If you've been here before, I really love talking about shame-based thinking. And the reason why I love talking about it is because I don't think we talk about it enough. I think we can talk about it some more. But I believe that people don't even realize that they're thinking shame-based thoughts. And so they see it as negative self-talk, right? So it's I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough. I'm ugly, nobody's gonna love me, people are gonna abandon me if they get to know who I really am, things like that, right? So I can't do this is impossible, I'm a failure. And when you have that type of negative self-talk, I think the number one thing is awareness. I talked about this last time about dealing with shame-based thinking and the life method, right? So awareness, looking within, identifying your triggers, finding your good mirrors, and empathy, receiving empathy. I really want to go back to the awareness bit. I want to just congratulate my friend, first of all, for just identifying the fact that she's having these shame-based thoughts, these negative self-talking, this negative self-talk that she's having. Most people don't even realize that they're doing it, right? It's just so common in their mind, like they think it all the time. They don't even realize that it's negative, or they don't even realize that it could be something that's actually harming them and not helping them. So I really want to congratulate you just for being aware, right? I think that's like a major part of the issue is that most people aren't even aware. So let's start with that. So glad that you're aware. Now that we're here, now that we're in the awareness phase, I want to talk about the triggers, because looking within, we've had some conversation on here before where we've talked about looking within. And for me, that includes looking within. So looking to your past and being able to recognize some of the messages that you received when you were younger. And maybe we'll do that we'll dig in deeper another time for that one. But I do have some. So for example, some of the messages that you may have heard when you were younger. Hold on. I have a sheet for this. This is why I'm taking my time. Okay. So let's say you were a little kid, right? And you were at home and maybe you heard one of your parents just always telling you, oh man, why can't you be like your brother? Or why can't you be like your sister, your cousin, whatever that is, whoever that was. But how you interpreted that message is like, I'm not good enough. if I were better, then they would love me, right? And so you just get this message, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable. Perhaps you heard a message like you're just constantly criticized, right? And so it's just this like a lot of like, oh, you could do better. And you think you're doing your best, but it's just never good enough. A real hardcore example is like you get all A's and one B, and all your parents see is the B. And they're like, well, what happened with the B? Why didn't you do better? And the message that you could interpret that to mean is if I'm not perfect, then I'm not worthy of love, right? If everything isn't like everything that they want, then I'm unlovable. Something must be wrong with me. And so you carry on that message. And some of the strongest messages that we can receive when we're little include, well, here, sorry, I'm going to do one more before I get to the strongest. Please forgive me. But one of the other messages is, I think this happens a lot. Parents do this. They don't want to like make their make their children's head too big. So they don't tell them or affirm for them like the good things that they do, because they're like, oh, they already know that. If I tell them that they're good at that thing that they already know that they're good at, then that's just going to like blow up their head or, you know, make them think that they're better than everyone else or things like that. So an example would be like if your child is intelligent, you never tell them that they're intelligent or that they're smart, because they think like you already know that you're smart, right? And so they just never tell them. And so in absence of that, the child could think, oh, well, I must not be smart because like my family never told me that I was, right? And so even if I hear it from other people, that can't be true because my family, the people who know me when I'm at home, when no one else is around, don't think that I'm smart, right? The reverse could also be true with the looks, right? So like if your family never tells you that like you're beautiful or that you're handsome, same thing, you start to think like, oh, I must not be beautiful, I must not be handsome because they would have told me. And so even when you hear someone say it outside of your home, or even when you get older, oh, you're beautiful, you're like, you're so handsome, you're so good looking, you can't believe it because you're like, well, the message I got when I was younger is that I'm not beautiful or handsome because no one told me. Because if I was, they would have told me when I was little, but no one told me. But as a parent, you thought like, well, they already know that, so I don't want to focus on that because they already know that. I want to blow their head up, right? So I think that's another thing. It could be, I'm using arts and looks because I think that's easy to see, but it could be the same thing for athletic ability or strength or things like that, right? Okay, so the strongest messages that people can get when they're little are messages of abuse, right? And I think that probably, for many people, that might be a bit obvious, right? But like, something must be wrong with me. I must not be good enough or lovable enough, because if I were good enough, if I were perfect, if I were, you know, whatever that is, then they wouldn't hit me that way, or they wouldn't speak to me that way. They wouldn't do those mean things, right? And so I must not be good enough. And then even stronger than that, believe it or not, even stronger than the abuse are messages that come from abandonment. So if someone has ever been, if you have parents who have divorced, if that message might be received as, wow, the two people who were meant to love me don't want to be around me. Something must be wrong with me, because if I were good, then they would want to be with me. They would want to stay with me. Obviously, as adults, we all understand it has nothing to do with the child. It's a relationship with the parents, but that's how a child might interpret that. The others are, if any child has been put in child protective services, like foster care here in the United States, or adoption, right? And so the idea is, oh, the two people who are meant to love me or built to love me don't, something must be wrong with me. I'm obviously unlovable. And then fast forward that to adulthood, it starts to become, oh, I don't want anyone to ever really get to know me, because if they did, they would abandon me. They wouldn't love me because I am unlovable. Something is wrong with me. I am broken, right? So again, a lot of negative self-talk, but it comes from messages that we received when we were little. So now we've gone over that. Let's talk a little bit more. And if you want a fact sheet of that, just shout me out, put something in the comments. I'll send it to you for free. No problem. It's a worksheet that you can just go through and, yep, this is a message I received. It's really good for looking within to be able to identify those things. A lot of people talk about doing child work, right? Or inner child work. And a lot of it has to do with looking back at those messages and really sifting through them and what they could mean and what the reality really, soothing that kid. What's the message that that little boy or girl was looking to receive that they didn't get, and that type of a thing. Okay, so now you're an adult. Let's fast forward now. And yes, you receive certain messages, and there are a lot more. Like I said, if you want the free worksheet, just comment, let me know. The other thing are the triggers. You're an adult now, right? So you are aware that you have this negative self-talk. We just kind of looked within to see where it came from. But I really want us to focus on the triggers. I don't even think you have an awareness that you have it, but I think the next step is getting an awareness of when you're triggered to have those negative thoughts, right? So let's go over some triggers that you might have come across just to help you identify when you're triggered. Number one could be when you see disappointment in someone's eyes. Maybe you got feedback, or when someone tries to correct you or gives criticism, right? Like, or critique or whatever. And like you immediately, it just triggers you into it. See, I'm not good enough. I'm a failure, blah, 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 right? And these are all people things that happen with people, right? So maybe when you don't get full attention, right? And people are, you're trying to talk to someone, but they're paying attention to other things and other people around them, maybe their phone or whatever. And so you're not receiving the full attention from them. That could trigger, see, I'm not right. Maybe conflict, right? Maybe every time you get into conflict with someone, immediately you're just, see, I'm not good enough. They don't love me, right? We're not getting along, all these things. Feeling rejected or abandoned. When a friend on several occasions backs out of a promise to do something with you, right? You'll see this friend doesn't want to be around me. Something's wrong with me, right? Those are people things, and there's a lot more of those. Some events that could also be triggering include when you make a mistake, right? So people who a lot of negative self-talk or a lot of shame-based thinking, when they make a mistake, they immediately identify themselves as a mistake instead of just saying, oh man, I messed up. I did something wrong. Let me try and see how I can do better, right? Sometimes embarrassment. So embarrassment about a situation, you have food on your face or food in your teeth and no one tells you, and then all of a sudden you see it and you're, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed, right? Something's wrong with me. How can I not? Just kind of spiral. For some people, it's gaining weight, just a circumstance of gaining weight, graying hair. So things that come with age, not being able to afford something that it seems everyone else has, being with friends who have well-behaved kids and it feels your kids or just baby's kids are just running around, right? Oh, what's wrong with me? I'm not a good parent. Something must be wrong with me. I'm not good enough, right? When your kid tells you that they hate you, maybe it's a sexual encounter. So you have a sexual encounter that for whatever reason just triggers you into, oh, I'm not good enough. Something must be wrong with me, right? Or seeing complex trauma in your own children. So lots of different things. Again, I have a checklist for this. And if you want this checklist, let me know and I'll send you the checklist. But here's the thing, guys. I think what's really important with the self-talk is that you have to be able to identify what is triggering you to start thinking the negative self-talk rampantly. So that way you can say, oh, this thing, I just experienced this. This is triggering me to think this, but this isn't true, right? I had the thing in my teeth, right? But it's not true. I'm okay. I'm still a good person. The world is still spinning. The sun still revolves around, rather the earth still revolves around the sun, right? Everything's going to be okay. If in those moments you can soothe yourself and just realize, oh man, that thing triggered me to think this, but that might not be true. That is key. Otherwise, you're just kind of in it. Then you're in a shame spiral, I call it. You're just negative self-talk, negative self-talk, negative self-talk, right? And so the biggest thing I think that's helpful to kind of soothe it is, one, if you're by yourself, practice breathing techniques. No one even knows that you're doing it. We were just I was just on Say That channel with Winston, and we had a guest on. So shout out to Eileen McDonald. She was amazing. And she is a wellness coach and performance coach, but she is also an expert on breathing. And so she recommends the breathing in for 4, holding for 7, and then breathing out for 8. This helps the body, literally the nervous system, start to relax. So I would highly recommend breathing when you feel, oh my God, I'm spiraling in these negative thoughts. And then calling someone, texting someone, being, hey, I'm going through, a lot of negative thinking right now, because you need those mirrors. You need someone to be the mirror for you to remind you, no, you are amazing. You are lovable. You're you can do this, right? It's going to be hard, it's going to be challenging, but I know like you can do the thing, whatever that challenging thing is. You need someone to remind you who you really are, right? A good mirror. And I have a whole thing about funny mirrors and why the difference between funny and good mirrors, but I'm not going to get into that right now. I just think it's most important for you to, one, identify the trigger. Really and truly, you got to identify that thing, because once you identify it, then you know you can do the technique. You can then do the breathing. You can reach out to a friend and let them know what's going on. So that way you can come back and be like, all right, I can do this. So those are my recommendations. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you do, go ahead and put valuable in the comments. Let me know. Again, if you want those sheets that have that information that I told you about, just, hit me up, let me know. I have no problems sharing that with you guys. But until next Monday, have an amazing rest of your day. Take care.